Panther Nation, the C3 Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com.
I had fun, man. Just out, you guys joking. We working at the same time, putting the work in as a team. Like I said, I'm just glad to be with the guys,
My favorite night of the week.
We're going to go out there, and we're playing to win. We're not out here just to show up. We're out here to win.
I don't want guys that want to win. Because really, who doesn't? Nobody wants to win. Everybody wants to win. I want players that hate to lose.
Well, this embodies everything that we are as a team, as an organization. Our motto is keep calm, and that's what we do. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, what's up, Panther fans? It's your boy, the Professor, a.k.a. Tony Dunn. This is the C3 Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night, except for this Monday night, we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions. We're making Mondays great again, fellas, and I'm doing it here today with my friends, big Panther fans, Mel Mayock and Joe Riolano. Mel, how you doing tonight?
Oh, doing pretty good, man. Monday nights, man, you taking me out of my comfort zone here. Tuesday night's the favorite night of the week, but we'll get it going tonight. Got lots to talk about. Let's get it going.
Joe, what's up, brother?
Hey, Tony. It's weird doing this on a Monday night. My week is totally going to be thrown off now since we're doing this on Monday. But I'm here, man. I'm ready to talk some Panthers.
I'm a creature of habit, man, and when you get me out of the routine, it really it throws me for a loop. In fact, I started my vacation last week, and I'm like on Friday cooking like a late brunch for I basically missed the radio show because I thought it was. I just didn't know it was Friday. I wasn't even thinking about it. And Clip calls me up like, "Where you at, bro?" But we're going to. I'm taking a vacation, family vacation tomorrow. We're taking the kids to Busch Gardens for the next 3 days. So we're going to knock the show out early because we don't want to miss a week. So like I said, we're making Mondays great again by having the C3 Podcast, which is usually on Tuesday nights. Tonight's show, guys, is Get Off My Lawn, Ron Rivera, episode 17.27. We're going to talk about an irritable Ron Rivera. We're going to talk about Matt Kalil, who is taking low blows and giving high praise at the same time. And we'll also be talking about some things going on with injuries, whether it be Curtis Samuel, Cam Newton's shoulder, or there's a laundry list of people that we'll have to discuss. And we'll talk about some of the key stories coming out on CarolinaCatChronicles.com. So go ahead, if you're watching on Facebook, share the show, share it on your timeline, throw it in a Facebook group, give us a like, and make sure you comment. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, and share that link with somebody on social media. Also,
hey, Tony,
yes,
I gotta give a shout out, man. The people they showed up in the YouTube chat already, and our boy Tim Tizzy puts it perfectly. He says, "WTF? Why are we on Monday nights, man?"
Yeah. Why are these notifications making all this noise is the other thing. Is that how do you turn off your notifications on dang Windows 10? That's what I want to know. You're hearing a lot of boo-boo-boos. So that's everybody throwing us a message on social media. Guys, we could use the support, and if you're interested, check out that link in the show notes to support the show on Patreon. Fellas, I want to start off talking about, look, Cam Newton not throwing again, sore shoulder, right? But Ron Rivera says he is throwing because he's thrown a couple of light passes with the trainers. We did not see him at FanFest. He did not throw the entire second week of camp, and he's been dealing with this shoulder soreness. At what point, actually, I'm not going to panic. I'm not panicking. Ron Rivera's tired of answering questions about it. He's also slightly nervous, I think, that Cam isn't a full go, but he's probably doing okay. He looks to be okay. Where are you guys feeling about Cam Newton not participating so far in training camp that much?
Well, I got to say, it's about what I expected, and I don't want them to push it. I would rather them take it real slow right now. And the guy's in a great mood. I mean, you saw the clip this morning on CarolinaPanthers.com where he's running around singing about rain, just having a good time. I think if he was really concerned, I think he would. I mean, he's not a great poker player. Let's face it. I mean, the press conference after the Super Bowl, he proved you could play poker with him and win some money.
Yeah, I think you're right. Joey, he had a late – I remember when the news came out that Cam Newton was having the shoulder surgery, the first thing that we were talking about is why did it take so long? Looking back now, I'm sure the Panthers wish they could have bumped that timeline up. You weren't playing for much at the end of the year. We're getting halfway through training camp right now, and Cam Newton has had limited opportunity to work with the receivers and to be the guy that's really running the offense. I don't care if you're handing the ball off. If you know he's not throwing, you're handing the ball off. Everybody knows what's going on. How are you feeling about Cam Newton, where he's progressing, and looking back how they should have attacked this?
Yeah, I wish, I'm sure the entire organization's like, man, we should have had this guy earlier. Trying to have him do physical therapy to help this injury get better, I think was just really wishful thinking on their part.
Yeah.
Should have just had him go under the knife, knowing that, hey, nobody wants to get caught, but at least if you do this, we can fix it. We'll do it early enough to where you'll get through your rehab and be set for training camp. And, they rushed, I don't want to say they rushed him back, but they pushed him a little bit in the first week of training camp, letting him throw.
They did.
And I think they're kind of like, whoa, let's slow it down. Let's stop him from, doing anything else. They should have probably not let him throw that first week and then maybe started throwing week number 2 of training camp.
I felt like he threw the whole, not only the first week, but it wasn't they said he was on a pitch count, but it didn't feel like it. Just watching on Twitter, he was doing everything but throw the deep ball, and he did get towards that a little bit later. I think they probably pushed him a little harder, or he pushed himself a little harder than was ideal in that first week. Now, this is what we have to talk about at this point, right? Is that our star quarterback isn't partaking in training camp that much. But I don't think at the same time, we're not trying to blow this out of proportion. Look, Cam has had a lot of experience in limited time in training camp. He came into the league in a lockout year. He had an ankle surgery 1 year. And so he's had some kind of nicks and dings where he's missed time. And in some of those years, he's had some of his best years, right? So it's not like we're really worried about Cam Newton. It's really the chemistry that gets developed. I think it's the leadership component that you want, Cam being the head of the offense. And so here's Ron Rivera on Cam throwing, though.
Is Cam not throwing this long? Is that considered a setback at all?
Well, Cam's been throwing. This is the 3rd day he's thrown the ball, so I'm not necessarily concerned. That's what I'm being told is the doctor's pleased with where he is.
So Ron Rivera's quick to point out he is throwing. He threw the ball 3 times over there with RV. Did you see that? But, at the same time, I think that, Ron, you do want to have these guys out there, right? And you want to have them out there. If you didn't need to be doing these things, then why even have training camp? It is beneficial to have everybody. In an ideal world, we want these guys out there. Another guy, though, that's missed a tremendous amount of time, in fact, the entire camp, a lot of optimism surrounding Curtis Samuel and how he could add to this offense.
Yeah, that's one guy. Yeah, that's one guy that's got me a little worried. Curtis Samuel and Matt Kalil have been the 2 that have worried me so far in camp. Cam, not really worried about, but you got to have that left tackle. And Curtis Samuel's been the guy really taking Ted Ginn's place as a speedster. So not having him out there, being a rookie, missing those reps, that's concerning for sure.
Yeah. Joey, I think everybody wanted to jump on the train of, hey, McCaffrey and Samuel are going to make this offense just a completely different look. But McCaffrey looks like to be phenomenal. He's juking everybody here from here to Spartanburg. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's putting on his right blinker and going left, changing to the left lane on the way to camp. I mean, he's juking everybody. But, you know, I think isn't it that spirit of optimism to think and look, I really think Curtis Samuel could be a very dynamic player, but he wasn't like a top 10 pick. I mean, he's going to have to get some pro polish. So this camp would have been a good time for him to get those reps. This could significantly impact the type of role that he has this season.
Oh, it definitely could. I mean, and when one door closes, another one opens. That's opportunity for some of the young bucks to step up and get their chance.
Yeah, here's Ron Rivera on Curtis Samuel.
Ron, what adjustments, if any of you, had to make missing Curtis Samuel for this amount of time?
No adjustments. Well, we're installing our offense. We're not going to wait on anybody. He'll just have to pick it up when he gets out here.
All right, so no adjustments. Ron he has been very irritable. You know, it was a hot day. It was the hottest day of the year of camp when they asked him that question. But when he says, and I don't think he's obviously not upset with Samuel, but I think he knows that these reps are valuable. But my thing, too, here, there's two things that concern me about what Ron Rivera's take on this was. We're installing our offense. He's going to have to figure it out. That's a plain-out lie. You aren't installing your offense when Cam Newton is not out there. You are installing the most basic form of your offense. The engine of that offense isn't really partaking in it. The hood ornament of Christian McCaffrey is looking fantastic, but you're really putting your offense, that installment, in a very limited capacity. The second thing that bothers me about this attitude, or I guess I raise it's not red flags, but is just like going things that are signaling my brain, is that we were kept hearing about an evolution of the offense, an evolution, a need to change, a need to adapt. And it sounds like they're doing what they want to do no matter who is on the field. Like, well,
what do you want him to do, Tony?
I want him to say that we're having to do what we can without Cam Newton. And without Curtis Samuel, this is what I would say, is I truly think this. Not only does Curtis Samuel need to learn on the field with reps, but I think the coaching staff needs to learn what they have to work with. And what I've wanted to see Carolina do more going forward, in my perception of the evolution of the offense, is play to the players' strengths. Not take players and try to interchange them into a scheme, but what do we got? What do they do best, and how can we use that? And I would just say, honest, we just don't really know what our offense can be without everybody on the field yet.
Yeah, and quite honestly, even with everybody on the field yet, there are so many different parts to this offense. We're not going to know for about another 6 weeks probably what this offense is. Another 4 weeks minimum, right? I mean, Monday or Wednesday night's the first game, which I'm going to be there and I'm excited, but we're not going to see much, right? I mean, Cam's not going to play. You think they're going to put Jay Stu and McCaffrey out there for a lot?
No. He said they're already going to be looking at the 2s and the 3s and see who's got speed and who can make plays. I just hope that our coaching staff is trying to become more flexible and dynamic themselves. Not just getting dynamic players and doing the same things. But you know how guys like in the Chip Kelly type offense is he goes and gets guys that fit his offense. I think what Bill Belichick does and what great coaches do is they tailor the game to who they got. and I just want to make sure. I think Ron is is irritable right now. I think he's feeling the pressure a little bit. I think he's got some concerns, like his star quarterback's not out there, his second-round draft pick's not out there. Matt Kalil, who they paid all this money to come in, has got a nicked-up groin. So he is getting irritable. Listen to him on Matt Kalil when they asked him if his groin injury was related to his hip.
Is there something deeper than the humidity going on with Matt Kalil?
No, other than the groin, that's about it. That's the only issue right now.
The groin?
Groin related all to the hip?
No.
He said, no. God, like you guys are trying to make something out of everything, and I get it, but there's something very enjoyable I have about adults asking adults about groins repeatedly. The groin, your groin.
I was just waiting for you to bring that
up. We'll have to ask Jordan Rodriguez next week when she comes on the show. She had a deadline to meet. We changed from Tuesday to Monday, and so we're going to reconnect hopefully next week. We'll have to ask her how she feels about saying groin to grown man over and over.
I want to get back to the situation with Samuel. There's a guy, Rivera, brought up a point. Well, someone brought up a point in this Facebook chat about a vertical threat, how Samuel was going to be the vertical threat, and without him, then Ryan. Really well, Tony said he is not a fan of Bird and does not like him being on the roster.
Oh.
So I thought I'd mention that to you. I did tell him that you
taking a shot at the groin.
But some of the guys were saying the other possible deep threats are
what, Shepard?
Well, one guy, Shepard, really, they said is not a deep threat.
Nah, he's like an intermediate route.
Yeah, but he's more of like a middle of the field kind of guy, I think.
Yeah, he's a better version of Jericho Cotchery, I think.
Right now, everybody wants Austin Duke. Everybody wants Austin.
So if Samuel's not out there, who do we have as a deep threat? But there again, he's only 5'9".
Right. No, 5'10", something like that. Both him and Bird are little. They're basically the same stature type player. Samuel may have a little bit more on him, like 185, where Bird came in at 175. Bird runs a 4.28, and he has made plays all over the place, every camp, and you just we'll have to see. A lot of people are suspecting that he is going to make the roster. And like Bill Voth type people say, pencil him down for the 5th roster spot. But I think you raised one question, Joey, is there enough competition on this team? Or are some people getting their positions handed to them a little bit? I.e., seems like coach is very defensive of Devin Funchess. His position is etched in stone. I think some others you could look in the secondary. There is a lot of depth on the defense, but there's some other places, where the Samuel injury may bring to light the need. But, we talked about this in a couple of weeks in the past, is a lack of experience too.
Yeah. Well, something that was brought up by Adam Sanders in the chat group is this offense isn't going to be that team that likes to take the deep shot as often. Part of this evolution you were talking about, Tony, was getting our weapons the ball and prime opportunity spots for them. So we are thinking of going to the short with screens and running back swinging out of the backfield and that sort of thing. So we won't necessarily need that guy to run 40 yards down the field for a deep ball as often. now and then, but it's not going to be the focus as maybe it has been in the past.
I think we do, though. And, Bird said in his press conference yesterday that he thinks he could be what Ted Ginn was for this team in the deep threat. I think the reason we need it is because Cam throws the deep ball about as good as anybody, except for Aaron Rodgers, maybe.
Sure. I mean, we know that, undoubtedly. But I think part of the problem that they've seen is with Cam wanting to throw the ball deep is, the problem we ran into last year was protection was breaking down. Yep. So Cam's sitting there holding the ball, trying to, wait for his guy for him to be able to throw the ball and his guy to get open. It's just, he can't. He ends up running for his life and then takes a sack or gets hit out of bounds. And, we all saw what he went through last year.
Yeah. My counter to that is not necessarily, like, I agree with a lot of those positions, but what I think the problem with Carolina's offensive play calling is that it didn't have enough diversity in a single play. So I felt like everybody's going deep, everybody's going short. Like
schoolyard ball.
Yeah, is that I feel like what I would like to see is to have, Samuel swing out on a shorter route, McCaffrey as well, and have somebody try to stretch the top and see if you can get, identify man, get somebody to bite. But
You're talking about more options in his reads.
Yes.
Yeah. A few short options, some intermediate option, and then a deep option as well. Well, you're saying you felt like we were going more guys headed deep than anywhere else.
Yeah, I thought you were sending Ted Ginn deep and you were sending KB. I mean, even though KB was running 10 yards and Funchess was running 10 yards, but Ginn was running 40, they're still long developing routes. And I think there's got to be some like when you look out there and you say people that Cam doesn't check off very well, that's not always true. Is that you got to have a check down. Mm-hmm. And if the guy's sitting back there blocking, like, what can you do? Who do you throw it to?
And you got to have somebody that people respect, right? I mean, they're not really that worried about Fozzie Whitaker out in the flat. I mean, let's face it, they're just not. So I think what you're going to see is with McCaffrey, who has been said to run the best route tree of anybody coming out in this year's draft, wide receivers included, putting him out into the intermediate type of routes, it's going to cause the safeties and the linebackers to pay more attention to him. You're not going to be able to keep people deep. So when Cam does go deep, somebody like Funchess and KB are going to have more one-on-one opportunities, and that's where their size could be a real benefit. So, yeah, we'll see how it plays out. But I think the different options is a key to this new offense.
Yeah, Tony, Seth Boyd is giving you a shout-out from Little Washington.
Who is Little Washington?
His name is Seth Boyd.
Oh, what's up? That is awesome. That's like that's right around our block. I also saw is that I thought Rashad Walker had a good comment that I think we're going to be seeing by that Funchess is in a prove-it year. And Relly Rell says that he thinks Funchess is having the foremost impressive wide receiver in training camp. And I got to disagree. I think that stuff is pushed media, pushed hype, wanting him to be good.
Fake news? Oh.
Because here's the thing, is every time I turn around, I hear that Brenton Burson had the best day. I heard that, and then you heard a lot of Russell Shepard early on. You are starting to hear Funchess' name more go on throughout. But I agree with Rashad that this is a make it year or break it year for Funchess, because I think if Marty Herney does stick around, he's going to truly push Carolina to establish a number 2 wide receiver, because that was something he struggled with so much in his first tenure with the Panthers. Now, to all this talk about Bird not being cut out, this is what I got to say.
You're out of order. No. You're out of order. This whole court is out of order.
That's how Ron Rivera felt. And listen to this. Let's get back to Ron Rivera. Grumpy Ron. Get off my lawn, Ron. Instead of riverboat Ron, he's get off my lawn, Ron. Get off my lawn, Ron.
I mentioned this on radio, but I mean, any decisions yet on Cam and the preseason?
No. And I said that on the radio, so you didn't need to ask the question.
What I like is that reporter tried to push back and go, yeah, we kind of do need to ask so we can get our sound clip. And I would be like, you better watch out. You better watch out, because Ron will put you in the doghouse. We've seen it happen. We've seen Cameron Artis-Payne in the doghouse. We've seen Josh Norman in the doghouse. Who else have we seen in the doghouse? There's a lot of them.
It's called irritable Ron syndrome.
Yes, irritable Ron syndrome. Here's more IRS makes everybody irritable, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Here he is again on the same day about the media getting redundant.
Huh? You said Kelvin was 243 when he reported on the radio?
Yes, that was very good to see. And again, you heard it. Why ask?
Well, I want to know more about what do you think about that weight for him?
As I said when I did the interview, I liked it. I was real pleased that he made that kind of effort to show up.
Huh? Why'd you ask then if you heard me say it earlier? So what Ron was saying was this.
Go write a blog about it. Ryder played well. These guys played hard. You know.
Coming strong with the sound effects today, Professor. I like it.
All right. So any thoughts on why Ron could this be an important year? What do you think this year means to Ron Rivera, Joey?
Oh, I think this is an important year for Ron. I think he knows that, he's got to have a good season. I'm not saying he's got to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
I am saying if he doesn't make the playoffs, I think there's going to be some. His job is going to really be on the line. I definitely think a playoff appearance is a must. Now, do we have to win the division? So I think if we can get into the playoffs as a wild card team, even as a wild card, I hope we win the division. Be okay. And I think he's feeling some of that pressure. He knows that this is a very important season for him.
I agree. Mel, if Ron Rivera this team goes 7-9. If they go 8-8, what do you think about what that says for not Ron Rivera? I don't think he'll be fired. But I definitely think that means he'll get one more year. You'll have to see him make some radical type changes to some of the maybe coaching staff. And then if he had another mediocre or poor year, that they're going to move on. And I think that Dave Gettleman's firing really reminded everybody that, like, hey, the Big Cat's interested in winning today.
That's very true. But, you guys probably know, it's always been a pet peeve of mine to say, oh, you guys went 7-9, so he's out. I mean, there's a lot more that goes into the details. I mean, if Cam Newton goes down with an injury, God forbid.
Sure.
Right? I mean, is that Ron Rivera's fault? No.
Of course, there are stipulations or certain things you can't help.
Right. So, you got to look at the
stays healthy. If this team stays healthy and has a mid-level year, I think that would be the most worrisome.
Yeah. He should be fired. If this team stays healthy and he has a losing record, he should be fired. That's the NFL. I mean, you got to win when you got your players.
I think 8-8, and he's gone.
He should be. But the reason I think he's got so much pressure is with you don't know who's going to be the general manager next year. He could go 11-5, 12-4, and lose his job. It's happened, right? I mean, look at the Chargers. They came in, a new GM came in, and they got rid of a guy that was 14-2 or 13-3.
Yeah, it was 14-2. It was Marty Schottenheimer, and I thought that was the biggest travesty in the history of football.
Yeah.
And I think, look, as Ron Rivera was fortunate to get by with one GM change.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
You have a tough year, and another GM comes in.
Right.
That could be something. Now, What I do think is, do I think that the Panthers are going to have a poor year? No. Am I ready to say that we're going to go 12-4 right away? Is that I'm trying to temper my expectations as well. All right, so let's do this. Let's talk about what's hot on CarolinaCatChronicles.com.
Good day, mate. Let's put another shrimp on the barbie.
No, I'm just getting warmed up. Here's Charlie facing the fire, and there's George hiding in Big Daddy's pocket.
Because I spit hot fire.
Take a flamethrower to this place.
What's hot on C3? All right, my question to you guys, a story I put up, is James Bradbury the most important piece of the Panthers defense? Pose it as a question. I think he is. Joey, where do you think James Bradbury and the importance of this defense is?
I think he is the biggest concern in the secondary. I think he's, when I say concern, I mean the most important piece in the secondary, because he's going to cover every other team's number one guy. But I think the biggest factor on this defense is going to start up front. You know, one of the defensive linemen, particularly a defensive end. I think we need to see some real somebody step up and really bring the heat on quarterbacks. That'll make it easier.
I hear you.
You know?
Mel, my argument, the reason I wrote this piece is I do believe James Bradbury is the most important piece to the defense, and here's my argument. Being the most important part on the defense does not mean you're the best player. I am by no stretch saying that James Bradbury is better than is a better player or caliber of player than a Luke Kuechly, than a Julius Peppers, than a Thomas Davis. But what I do think is that we have the ability to sustain injury more so at those positions if that was to happen. But I feel like this, if James Bradbury goes down, then you're talking about a secondary where your top corner is a second-year player as well as Daryl Worley. You're going to have to start shuffling players. Maybe you move Captain Munnerlyn to the outside. Then again, you're searching for that nickel position. Corn Elder is out with a stress fracture in his kneecap.
And I think right now Zach Sanchez is number 2 in the depth chart there. So
Right.
I mean,
That's terrifying.
Yeah, I think you're right on there in that he is the player that we can least afford to lose.
I agree. And that's really where I was coming from on this. And I think, and I believe I buy into the hype on Bradbury. Worley, they're all up. They're trending up. I don't know if there's a ton of competition at those spots either, but I do believe that we would see the same thing that happened with Michael Orr last year, where it had a domino effect of, like, then it has to go well. So James Bradbury, to me, is the most important part on this defense. Mel, you wrote a story this week, 2 reasons to be excited and 2 reasons to be nervous. Tell us your 2 reasons to be excited and your 2 to be nervous.
Well, to be excited, I really think you look at this, and I know that there are some Debbie Downers out there that are feeling pessimistic about this season, right? And I think we all know who they may be.
Oh,
but to me, you look at this roster, and it is a big if, but if we stay healthy, this team is better than the 15-1 team. They are. I mean, Matt Kalil is a better left tackle when healthy than Michael Orr. Kelvin Benjamin is back. You've got the diversification in the offense. Cam is a couple years older. And I tell you, something that's not getting a whole lot of pub this training camp is the maturity of Cam Newton. You listen to his.
I know what is getting a lot of pub is Mel banging on that desk.
Hey, man, sometimes you got to be passionate about stuff. You got to believe in the team. Stand up for what you believe in.
All right.
All right. But no, and another reason that I really like, that I feel like you should be excited, is there's a lot more veteran leadership on this team. We missed that last year. with old man Harper gone.
Mm-hmm.
We missed that in the secondary big time. You know,
you're right. I think you're right, Tony. Let's see. The Batman says Kirk Coleman is the most important piece of this defense.
I think there's a real argument there. I think there's an argument that him and Mike Adams are just as equally important because without them, there is nothing.
Well, see, the problem with our secondary is we have a very good starting secondary potentially, but there's not much behind it. I mean, if things went south, we could be looking at Teddy Williams and Captain Munnerlyn or even worse, Teddy Williams and Zach Sanchez as our starting corners.
Right now, Luke Cole, I believe his name is, undrafted free agent, is like one of the hottest names in camp. And that tells you something about our secondary, right? Yeah. Is that I agree. I think that the secondary, and I've been saying this for weeks, is a fragile group. I think it's one that can work and work well, but it's going to be difficult to kind of endure injury. The only reason I did not go with a Coleman or Mike Adams is that I feel like you can you have Colin Jones who can do some of it.
He's serviceable. Yeah.
I think it's easier for a corner to move and play safety than it is for a safety to play corner.
Oh yeah.
So
I agree.
Without a doubt.
So I think that you could, worst case scenario, try like maybe put Worley out there if you had to, or maybe you could put Shaq out there and play some strong safety, or Jeremy Cash.
Put my thoughts on it though. I think you're right that Bradbury is the guy that we can least afford to lose. I don't think he's the most important, because if he plays good, solid football, that helps our team. But the biggest difference maker, as Joe was saying, is that pass rush. I mean, if Julius Peppers is the beast that he can be, this team is going to be lights out. I mean, if he comes in and gets 12 sacks this year, good gracious.
Let's just say that James Bradbury went down last year in the Falcons game, and the Falcons shredded us for 500 yards through the air. And then over the next 4 weeks without him, opposing offenses averaged 349 yards on average in the air against this team. Now, I know that those are in a vacuum, and I was using them to prove my point. I do. I just think that the secondary, we heard Max here last week. When I asked him that question, he said this team can go as far as the secondary takes us. I think this, though, is that much of this roster in some ways is built a lot like the 2013 team that got 60 sacks or whatever. Mm-hmm. Is that I really think I think our offense has the potential to be really good or really good. But I think what we really want to do is have our defense. Wouldn't it be great if we had a top 3 defense, top 5 defense, or the number 1 defense in the league? That would really take the pressure off of everybody on the offense. And
that potential is there. I mean, this is the most talented defense we've had since our first Super Bowl run.
I agree. I mean, you're loaded, and the front 7 is loaded.
Yep.
The back guys are fine. It's just what happens if something goes wrong.
Right. Depth is a huge question mark, and there's a chance. There is a chance. Now we will be able to add some depth. Roster cuts take place.
Oh yeah.
There is a chance.
I would think a safety would be a big one.
Let's remember that we may be able to make some moves once teams start cutting down their rosters.
Very true.
And actually, let's pray that we will make some moves once the teams start cutting down their rosters.
I agree. I think we need some depth at safety. I think would be
for sure
is a need. Right now, I feel like the strategy for wide receiver is throw everything against the wall and see what sticks. I don't know which one you address. I would rather for us to go out and get a safety and a backup one. Because here, look, Dean Marlowe, again, suffering with injury. And right now, and Mel has always said this, injury really makes or breaks a team. You know, and if you think about it, Matt Kalil having issues with the groin, K1 Short having minor injuries. Without they're treating these dudes with kid gloves. I get that, right? But it's some of the other names you think of. This is Travell Dixon, who was a safety on the team. He suffered an ankle injury and is now on IR. Dean Marlowe, again, struggling with injury so much. So everybody thinks Dean Marlowe is going to be great. And then he hasn't been able to ever play, really. You had Captain Munnerlyn with a hamstring. What I think all this shows is that how fragile even the best roster can be given a major injury.
Yeah, but you know what? I'll take what we've had so far compared to some other teams.
Yes.
You look at the Chargers, you look at the Dolphins.
These are Knicks.
You know, I'll take
these are Knicks. Yes, these are Knicks.
You're not death blows.
I do think one that is probably more disappointing than even Curtis Samuel. I don't think anybody thinks Curtis Samuels is a long-term problem. I think they just don't want it to be a lingering problem. I think the one that does just suck is Corn Elder. You know, Corn Elder was supposed to be the steal of the draft, and he replaces Zach Sanchez, study under Captain Munnerlyn. It sucks that he's probably not going to play anytime soon, really, because of that.
I think you're right. I believe that. I believe we won't see him until hopefully during the season at some point.
Yeah.
I bet he starts on the pup, in my opinion.
That's exactly what I'm fearful of.
Yeah,
missed
which
the first
is better.
6 weeks,
It's better. I mean, like, what's he really gonna do? You know, at this point, you might as well have him halfway through the season in case anything happens.
And you could use that extra roster spot to have another wide receiver out there until Samuel comes back, without putting Samuel on pup, maybe.
Did you talk about your 2 reasons to be nervous, Mel? Did we go through all of it?
Well, actually, the number 1 reason to be nervous is exactly what we're talking about tonight, is the lack of depth in the secondary and left tackle. I mean, when Amini Solatulu is your backup left tackle, that's a lot to be nervous about, right?
I love when they say they're having such a great camp. You know, it's like, that actually makes me more worried about Matt Kalil's injury than him getting upset about people asking about it, is when all of a sudden we're celebrating Amini Solatulu.
Right. You're right. But, Matt Kalil was back at practice today, and they said he looked good. So, but we'll see. And then actually my number 2 reason was I couldn't think of one. The only thing that's got me nervous at all is what injuries could do to this team. If this team is healthy, if we go through and that offensive line is the same 5 throughout the year, Cam Newton's shoulder is healthy, Luke Kuechly is fine, doesn't take big hits and miss the rest of the year, the secondary stays intact, this is a Super Bowl team, guys. Not saying they absolutely will, but they are better than the 15-1 team. They can win it all. So that's my only fear, is injuries.
Yeah, I mean, it's everybody's looming fear in the NFL, and that's why we put out something on injury concerns through camp. But it is good to note that these are minor nicks and bruises and nothing kind of like KB injury a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I think it's what Cam's going through is expected. The other thing that's hot on CarolinaCatChronicles.com is Curtis Samuel will just have to pick it up, and so will Carolina. And my point of writing this was, I think Carolina needs to learn what they got offensively, and it's difficult to learn that without having the parts out there working together, without having Cam throwing, without him doing these things. We're happy to see Christian McCaffrey impress on a scale that even to people who were super high on him before he was drafted, he's lived up to the hype plus more. But I want to see Carolina's coaching staff be flexible. And that's the reason I said so will Carolina. When Curtis Samuel comes around, I want to see them really explore what they can do. So
one thing, Professor, that I will throw out and say that I think Shula is doing just that is I saw a good piece on, I believe it was Captain Munnerlin, that said all of this diversity that the offense is throwing out there is really going to be good for them in the season, because they're seeing so many different plays on offense. It's going to help them against, say, Atlanta, for example. So that tells me that the playbook is being opened up and they are playing with the toys that they have instead of forcing what we've always done.
Dude, they ran the Wildcat this week. That is not an evolution. Oh gosh,
it's the evolution.
That was an evolution when Dan Henning was our offensive coordinator. That was an evolution.
Yeah. Oh gosh. We don't need Christian McCaffrey running the damn Wildcat this year.
No, my God, no.
Now you say that until he runs it 60 yards up the middle.
Oh gosh. You know what? The last time we ran the Wildcat as a serious formation in this team was when there were bad things going down.
The last time I heard you say, "Oh gosh," was when they picked Christian McCaffrey at 8th overall in the draft.
No, you
Tony.
Like, no, I've said it
since Super Bowl 52 will be played by the teams playing this Wednesday.
Ooh. Oh gosh, Panthers, Texans. That is a bold prediction. I like it.
Throw it out there, buddy.
Well, I tell you one thing: is you better hope that their quarterback situation gets worked out. Completely.
I'm excited about this, Sean. I'm excited about
it. Me too. Yeah. But a rookie going to the Super Bowl—that's a big task right there.
That is a big deal. And Marino.
It's not unprecedented, though, right?
All right. Okay, so I got 3 last notes about camp I want to talk about before we get to our ice up picks. And that is, first, here's Matt Kalil talking about Coach Matsko.
I mean, it's been great as far as John Matsko goes. You know, he's the first guy I've played for that kind of demands excellence from his offensive line room. And the way those guys work in there, we each push each other harder each practice and during practice to kind of outwork the other. And you know, we're a pretty physical group, in my opinion.
Now, I know we dissect every word and every verb and every adjective.
How was that possible, though? How was that possible?
But, yeah, isn't that kind of like a weird thing to say that, like, all your coaches, I mean, and maybe they don't. Maybe he is the one coach in the NFL that does. But I feel like, man, that's really throwing a low blow, a blow to the groin of all of his other coaches while delivering high praise to John Matsko.
Such a good point, Tony.
But it stuck out to you, Mel, right?
Oh, it did. When I saw that earlier today, I was like, but I didn't think about it in terms of being a low blow by Kalil. I thought about it in terms of, well, how does a coach get to the NFL if they're not demanding excellence?
I know.
I mean,
is that like he's the first coach that told them to stop texting in meetings?
Right.
You know, I mean, come on. I thought that was weird, and I saw right away some Vikings people responding. You know, I don't know. I mean, but you know, in college too, you would think that I don't think he probably meant. You know, sometimes you don't really mean all the things that are said in a statement. You're just saying that he demands excellence, and he probably
does it in a different way than he's had it done before. Maybe he focuses more on cohesion across the line or something, right?
Or not texting in meetings.
Right, or stretching your groin out before practice.
Yeah, exactly. I think one other thing to note is Jeremy Cash got booted from practice yesterday.
Yes, I saw that.
How about this? What does it tell you about McCaffrey when you boot Jeremy Cash out, but you let Moses Frazier stay out there after he tries to punch Luke Kuechly in the head?
I know, right? You know, and I don't remember John Thorne getting in trouble when he was scrapping with Cam a couple years ago.
I know. That man, look, I think this says something right there, is that Ron's like this, is that, man, if Cam's nicked up, this dang McCaffrey guy is gonna have to get like 2,000 yards. So nobody's
saving my
touching
job. Yep.
Hey, I say this, it's one thing if you're gonna punch somebody in the head and they have a helmet on, or you're an idiot for doing so. But when
Is that what he did?
Low,
he went low.
That's already considered a superstar, and you're hitting down low, like in the knees. That's bad news.
That's dumb.
That is bad news.
Did you see? I saw Burfict did that last week, and like got in a fight with a coach, like some assistant coach, and him.
That is one nasty dude right there, man. He is gracious.
And then I saw something else. I did see this is maybe it was Zeke Bigger, ECU guy, or somebody else blew somebody up in a tackling drill in Carolina's camp, and they weren't tackling. And then I think another thing I saw too is down in Jacksonville. Did you see Leonard Fournette get popped? Defensive end
and fumble.
I say this is that I'm cheering for Leonard Fournette, and the first things I said to all that, because everybody's putting it on the Panthers timeline, seeing like, look what Leonard Fournette's doing down there, is that he got hit. He got hit like 5 yards in the backfield. Off of they hadn't even handed the ball off barely, and he got
he had no chance.
He got blasted. That was not fair. Why are they hitting that much? We're not doing that in our camp. There's another cool one too. Is that some Jacksonville guy, some defensive end, tried to do a drill on the tackling dump on the sled, and like totally like whiffed on the sled.
I saw that.
It was Jacksonville. You're right.
Yeah, so they're having a Jacksonville-like camp.
That was a nice up-sun moment right there.
Oh, gosh, it was awesome. All right, last thing on camp for us was every time Ron Rivera is asked to summarize how practice went, this is what he says.
How's the energy been out here? I thought the energy level was slow this morning. I thought it took a little bit to get going, but once it got going, it was better.
He is always saying that the energy level is slow. Ron is get off my lawn, Ron Rivera this year. He's calling players out. He's calling everybody. He's kicking dudes out. So we need you guys to get energetic. And that's why we had the show a night early, to pump up the team this week. One more day.
Right on, man.
All right.
This is game week, man. This is the first game week.
Actually, okay. Yeah, we do need to talk just briefly about that. Mel, tell us what's going down Wednesday. What time? Where's it at? What do we look for?
7:30. You can look for me being in my seats for the first time. Section 351, row 18. Anybody coming to the game, come see me. We'll take some pictures, put it out on Twitter. But it's going to be a lot of fun. You're not going to see a lot of stars. I don't see Cam out there at all, But what I want to see is competition for the backup spots, right? And I want to see how that offensive line handles arguably the best defensive line in the game. So that starting unit offensive line, if they play a couple series, I want to see how they do against Clowney and Watt and company.
Yeah. That defensive line is loaded.
Yeah, and I don't think we'll see a ton of them either.
No, you're right. We won't.
I do think this. I thought one interesting comment from Ron Rivera today was about Joe Webb. And they asked him about Joe Webb and what he means to the team. And Ron was not as glowing as he normally is. Now, he wasn't down on Joe Webb. What I'm just saying is that, like, yeah, he does this every camp. He does a lot of different things. But I think that this could be the year maybe Joe Webb doesn't make the team. Going ahead and put it out there. But we're going to see probably a lot of DA. And, I mean, obviously. And so you'll be looking. He said he's going to be looking at the receiver group. I think you'll want to see what those safeties are doing too, like the LJ McCray, the Luke Cole guy. And I think you're going to see if Deshaun Hall, how he matches up against some guys. Also, Moton.
They said Deshaun Hall had a good day today. They say he's really setting the edge well.
Good. I hope we can see a lot out of Amini Silatulu and Moton, because those are guys, if something goes wrong, will have to step into a role.
Right.
And I think we'll get to see something. I think they're going to play the Watson kid a good amount, maybe.
Oh, yeah, and there's probably going to be some orange up in the stands. Some Clemson Tiger fans.
Believe that.
Yeah.
And Bullware, a Clemson product.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing him.
Zeke
brush in hand and everything.
Zeke Bigger, East Carolina. We could see. We'll get, and hopefully we'll see Bird. Bird showed out last year in the preseason. One thing to look at is this: they're not going to be throwing Christian McCaffrey out there taking punts and kickoff returns. So who are they going to be looking at? And I think you'll see that. What is his name? Kellen Clay.
Yeah.
So you'll see those guys. All right, let's get on out of here. But before we do that, we need to do our Ice Up picks. All right. So you didn't hear the ice cubes. I'll do it one more time.
There we are. All right. That's strong.
All right. What is your Ice Up pick for the week, Mel Mayock?
Well, I do believe in karma. And I do believe that, and I'm sorry, Abby, that I have to do this. Everybody knows that Abby's husband is a big Jets fan. But I tell you, early in the spring, they decided to evolve their offense and go with a youth movement and getting rid of both Eric Decker and Brandon Marshall. And a lot of that was based on what happened last year from Quincy Enunwa, who unfortunately has torn his ACL, and he is out for the year. So they are.
Are you talking about the wide receiver?
Yeah. So Quincy Enunwa.
I thought it was his neck.
Oh, was it his neck?
Yeah, I think he had
ACL, but he is
neck, and is not going to play this year.
He's out for the year, whether it's his knee or his neck, right? But
yeah,
I mean, and that really sucks because he is a guy that I was targeting as a little sleeper in the C3 fantasy football draft. I had him pegged as maybe a fourth rounder, but kind of a sleeper type of guy that puts up some pretty strong numbers. He'd be a solid number 2 or 3 wide receiver on the team. But boy, I tell you, the Panthers felt it last year when they got rid of Josh Norman. You're just kind of tempting fate, right? And then you got these rookies coming in to start, and they get some injuries, and they're done. And it really just blows your year up. The Jets did the same thing. You get rid of Decker and Marshall, and then you tempt fate and you lose Enunwa. All I can say is Jets, Jets, Jets. Ice up, son.
Joe, what you got?
Big time.
Oh, and actually on that, following up on what you're saying, I saw today that they were talking about who is their backup now? Luke McCown? Or no, their starter.
I'm not even 100% sure.
Their starter, I think.
I'm not sure who the starter.
One of the McCowns. What's his name? From Penn State.
It's
the guy that was at Penn State.
Oh, no.
I think McCown will win it.
McCown is supposedly winning it right now. It's Meckenberger.
Yeah.
What's his name? Meckenberger, whatever. He's the dude that threw the football supposedly at the reporters and on purpose or whatever.
Speaking of that, did you see our girl Jordan Rodriguez almost got hit in the head at FanFest?
Oh no!
I was going to ask her about that tonight, but we'll do it next week.
So what is his name? Hackenberg.
That's it.
Yeah, I saw this is that like the sources are saying that it's not even close. He's not doing good. And I saw the tweet come out from a reporter, and then the next tweet behind it was he can't even break the huddle. It sounds bad. Tim Tizzy says that we should ice up Steve Smith. And I said, why? Because he's spending too much time as a reporter and not being our wide receiver coach or a wide receiver coach. I would think he would make a terrible wide receiver coach. I'm pretty sure
I do too.
I'm pretty sure he would punch somebody in the face like when they.
He would go. Yeah, he'd treat him like Ken Lucas.
Yeah,
or bright.
Yeah, Funches. He would punch Funches in the face for salad being his favorite food.
So he would then, at that point, be called Punches.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's what he would call him all day. Punches. Hey, Punches, come here. All right, Joe, you got an ice up pick for us?
I do. This guy. Scott Yearwood. He is a fugitive that was on the run from Florida authorities. He needed to make a genius decision and use his mugshot wanted poster as his picture.
As his what?
Yes, you heard me correct.
Say it again. You went out again. You went out. What happened?
Scott Yearwood is a fugitive on the run from Florida authorities. He made the genius decision to use his mugshot / wanted poster Facebook profile picture. Yeah, you heard me correct. Now, this is really stupid. And I could kind of see it as a mistake if it was done by a rookie criminal. Guy who it's his first time being wanted, thought it would be cool. Let me throw this up on my Facebook picture, only to get caught and, I learned a lesson now, but he's only 18 years old. Kind of could see that. Scott Yearwood is a 41-year-old seasoned criminal. This idiot is certainly my selection for the Ice Up Son pick. You are a freaking moron. So Ice Up.
So is that what costed him? Did one of his buddies turn him in?
Yes, the police tracked him down because of that profile.
Because he had his location tracker on his phone too.
Exactly.
Oh, jeez.
Joey, seasoned criminal also means always getting caught criminal.
That's a very good point.
Mario Marcioni, who, by the way, I had lunch with this past week. It was a wonderful time. He said, ice up the Dolphins. They reached to sign a QB, and I also heard they hired a pet detective to find their mascot, Snowflake. I would say this is, I did hear, I think it was one guy on Twitter. What is his name? He used to be on WFNZ, and his name was... He always is real pretentious. Nada. He said this: I'll give you a pass on not signing Colin Kaepernick because he wore that Castro shirt, and having him in Miami might not be like the best fit on that one.
Right. That's very true.
My ice up pick of the week goes to Alex Jones and his entire audience. Alex Jones is the crazy dude that everybody, he has like a live stream network, and he is a big Trump supporter, and he's like a big conspiracy theorist. He said that 9/11 was inside. Oh gosh, please say no. He said 9/11 was an inside job. He said that Sandy Hook was made up. And I mean, he's just a real piece of work. Well, he shows it because I watched the who's the guy that used to be on the Daily Show and now he has the show on HBO.
Colbert.
No, it's the guy he's the British dude. He's real funny. So they made the Daily Show basically on HBO now, where they can curse doing it. And he had this great segment where they just made fun of Alex Jones for 22 minutes. And it was funny. But I think that when you make fun of people, and like me talking about Alex Jones only gives them publicity and more people watch. The reason I'm icing him up, though, is because his channel showed up on my YouTube recommended videos because I watched
that. John Oliver, they said.
Yes, John Oliver. Because I watched that John Oliver clip, that's why I suspect that his stuff came up. So I clicked on Alex Jones's show just to watch it while I was doing some stuff on the internet. And his audience, if you looked at the chat room, is the most bigoted, anti-Semitic, racist group of people in the history of the earth. I didn't know that anti-Semitism was still a big thing.
Wow.
I thought, you
gotta be kidding.
No, I mean, like, I get that it's historically a thing. But at some point, I mean, I thought I thought that the new targets would maybe have been some other components of society. Sure, do I get in some places close to Israel, there's some anti-Semitism. But these people were just like Jew bashing.
In Germany? Still the same. They hate Jews in Germany.
Well, this is in America.
Yeah, in America.
I mean, and people had what they were just saying was the most awful, awful stuff. In the process, Alex Jones did call Hillary Clinton the whore of Babylon. I mean, like, these people are ridiculous. And I'm sorry. How can we have a real conversation in life when there's these ignoramuses out there that are so awful? I mean, just bad people. So I'm not going to, I am judging right now. So I'm telling Alex Jones, his entire audience, to ice up. It was, you guys are the whores of America. God. All right, so that's my sub segment. All right, I think we're done.
Yeah.
This is the C3 podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night, in this case Monday, making Mondays great again, we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. Joe Riolano, fun hanging out tonight. Sound like you're feeling better by the end of the show. We picked your spirits up, so tell them how they can reach you on Twitter throughout the week.
Please hit me up on Twitter if you want to talk Panthers or Yankees baseball for that matter. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Riolano. Keep pounding, guys.
Mel Mayock, good to see you, brother.
Good to see you, man. Good to be here tonight. Good show. Good show. Even though it is Monday and tomorrow, I'm going to feel like it's Wednesday. I might put out a tweet that says hump day tomorrow, but be all messed up. So thanks for getting the week started out right, though. It was a good Monday night. Not too bad. But, hey, catch me anytime on Twitter at Panthers Drafter. And if you're going to the ball game on Wednesday night, come see me. Tweet me. Hit me up. Let's put some pictures out there. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun year.
All right. Well, my name is Tony Dunn. This is the C3 Podcast. We will check you out next Tuesday night. We should have Jordan Rodriguez coming next week. If not, we'll bring the show with the same intensity. We'll get to talk about some real football, all of that jazz. Until then, keep pounding.
Good night.